Good morning, YouTube, and thanks for joining us back here at Wiki Up Knoll Off-Grid for another update on our little off-grid getaway. If you're new here, my name's Stephanie. My husband John and I are building a house and an off-grid getaway up here in the mountains of Cochise County in southeast Arizona. We've been working very hard on building a subterranean greenhouse. We may be there again this week for this portion of the video. If not, we'll have plenty to do. As you may remember, we have progress updates on our house. We are on a permit here. The way we're building is a little different, which is wonderful and exciting for us. And but it does still require progress updates with our county and municipalities so that we are on track. Part of that progress update schedule means that we have to stay on track, and each week we budget a bit of time. Even though we're doing these other projects like the pole barn and the greenhouse and other things, we also have to be building on our house, and we want to as well. So today's project, starting off, is going to be dealing with this lumber. We've purchased 2x6 framing boards that we will be able to use as placeholders for our door framing as we continue to go higher on our house. First step here is to sand off some of the stamping on those boards and to stain it. So you're going to see us doing a little bit of that, and then we'll catch up in a little bit to explain what we're doing with that lumber next. Okay, you saw our station set up over here. John had a sanding station on this side and I was doing the stain. We've just started. We actually chose an oil-based stain with Minwax called the Ebony, so it's a really dark stain, obviously. And we wanted that because this will be exposed to weather until the house is closed in and finished. So we want it to be very dark, very saturated, very protected as much as we can. We have decided, I think, that we're not going to go ahead and use the time to take off the little printed barcodes and things because the ebony stain does a very good job of just covering it, and it'll probably have a couple coats on it. In the past, we've done the Shosukibon technique of burning the wood, scraping it and sealing it, and we may very well do that for the finished look and product of the house. However, for this particular reason that we're doing wood, which may be a temporary placeholder depending on how it performs, we don't want to go ahead and spend the time and effort and energy doing the Shosukibon or the burning the wood technique because we may not end up using it in the finished product and the finished look of the house. So this is what we're doing for now. I think John's going to set up staining over here, and we're just going to stain over this. Just for reference, that Shosukibon staining is, you can see on the eave up here, this brown, dark wood there, the eaves, those are burned and sealed with oil. They really last a long time. They do lighten up, as you can see. And in our house build, we want to kind of do something that's darker. So we're hoping for this dark ebony trim color in the jambs, the door jambs, but a little sun faded. So we're gonna see how it goes. It's all an experiment. And this is step one of that experiment. So we'll continue on. You will see that on fast mode, and then we'll check in a little while. Okie dokie, our scaffolding is working out great as drying racks. We have 32 pieces of lumber all set and ready for next steps after they dry, of course. And that step will be assembling door frames. You'll see that shortly. All right, new day for us. Very cloudy today. Not much solar gains happening around here. John's working on the dirt pile. I'm getting ready to go get more clay from down the hill. We're low on that, so we're gonna revamp our system out here and move it out a little bit, get it organized for today. You just saw us working on the house. Obviously, this is the house site. We got this little short bag here, and we also got that bag over there. And then off camera, we did the very back wall along there. You can see I still have a teeny tiny dip right there, but that should be able to be adjusted. So this one was the hardest back here because it had, I'm really high in this corner. If you've been watching for a while, you know, I've been trying to work that out. So this bag is only about 2 inches thick. I had to really go slim on that one compared to the other ones to level it off. And the reason I wanted it to be way closer to level is because this is the level that we're putting on thresholds. And while we know this is an earthen structure, right? It's not going to be absolutely perfectly level at every point through this process. We'd like for our door thresholds to be fairly similar from room to room to room. Of course, if they're, you know, half an inch off in height, that's really okay in an earthen structure for us, or for at least for us. We brought out the laser level at dark just to make sure that we were pretty close on all these. And today our task is to go ahead and get that short bag, this bag, and the final one over here by the kitchen sink area. So we're working on that in just a moment. But first, I have to get more soil. Like you could see, we are running low on the clay portion of our soil mix. So I'm gonna go get that, and we're gonna get set up for today's little work session. All right, you just saw us doing this teeny tiny bag and this medium sized bag. So at this point, oh, and off camera, we did this bag over here in the kitchen. So I'm very excited because at this point we are now shin level all around the house, including exterior courtyards. We're at the same level now. And as I said before, this means we can start placing our door frames, which will be kind of a next milestone for us, a next phase in the way things look and the way we do bags and the order of how we do them based on where frames are and where walls overlap and all of that stuff. So I'm very excited too about this corner. As I've said before, it is our highest corner, and this is the first level where we have finally gotten all our corners from here to there to here and the other side all at the same level. Checked with the laser level and we're good to go. So we'll still have to do some small bits of adjusting when we put in our frames tomorrow, but it's looking good. And I'm especially excited about the way it's looking over here by the sink drain area. If you've been with us a while, you know that this box is for our entrance and exit of water and electric to the house, so that we don't have to bury it in the walls and do all of that stuff ahead of time. So that's what we're doing. And to see it open like this, because we have to keep this area unfilled in, kind of excavated for the future, to see it like this, we can almost see all the layers. There's still a layer and also gravel below this, but you can kind of see what we've done, which is encouraging, because a while back we had to fill in our ditches so that it could be ready for next phases. and it was discouraging after doing like 6 layers. But now in certain areas, we're able to see that progress again. So that makes me extremely happy. Next for us is lunch, because even though it looks like morning out here, it's time for lunch. And then you'll see us back here in a few seconds during tomorrow's work session. Okay, new day for us. It is foggy and soggy out. You can barely see the mountains that are the close by ones. It's starting to break up now though, so that's nice. You just saw me marking over here on the foundation walls for our door frames. So we're going to be placing door frames, either single doors or double doors, depending on the space in question. And we're going to be starting over here. And this process, I don't know if you've ever built anything or if you've built this particular type of building, but I think anytime you're building a house for yourself, you have to really think way in advance of what furniture you have and the way you want the rooms to flow and kind of how you want doors to open inside the space and that kind of thing. So we're figuring that out at this stage. For example, this is going to be a bedroom, and I want to have French doors opening here onto an exterior patio area. And so I needed to measure and mark where the end of a bed would come in relation to the door that goes into the interior of the house. So those kinds of things, figuring it out. I also did some of that over here in the kitchen in particular. For some reason for me, these rooms look so much smaller when there's no walls on them. So I keep thinking, oh, the furniture that I have is gonna be swallowing up the whole room, when in fact I have a 4-seater, nearly a 6-seater table that I think is huge for my use, as I've had it for years, and it's going to go in here in the kitchen and double as like an island and eating space. And these corners represent the measurements of that table. So in my mind, I was thinking that table is going to take up the whole space, but in reality, it's going to have plenty of room around it for us to flow from one room outside and into the next room, and in relationship to countertop and workspace areas that have been marked. So very useful morning time for my brain. And we are now ready to start building our door frames. Okay, our first door frame is up. I'm beyond so excited. It really gives me a better picture of the scale. For this room, this is a standard opening. We're using standard openings for all of our doors, whether they be double or single. That way, obviously, we can always replace doors as needed. So what we've got here, we squared up our framing, and then we kind of locked it in with those 45s at every corner, and we left plenty of room for us to build a ramp and go through with wheelbarrows of dirt over time. On the bag here, you can see I've got the level out because these are earthen bags. They're made with literally dirt from the property. So they've been tamped and they're fairly level on average, but there are some dips and dives. So before we do anything else, I'm going to be going in here with some of our mixture. This is the same mixture that we used to put in the bags in the first place. So it's really like exactly the same as what's under it. And then I'm going to be, with my gloves, tightly packing underneath here so that we can keep that threshold on level. I also checked plumb this way and this way so that everything should remain square. And as we go up with the bags, I'll have to continue to check and adjust and make sure it stays solid. For our purposes, as I mentioned earlier in this video, we are not exactly sure if these wood members will be able to be permanent or if they'll be temporary. So in preparation for that, when we framed them, we did toenails from the inside. Basically, we're going to be attaching everything in this frame from the inside so that if we need to take this out in the future to replace it, we'll be able to access those screws. That'll make a little more sense as we go up in our build. You'll see that eventually there will be bags in this space, and if we put any screws going in this way or framing screws from the bottom, we wouldn't be able to take this out without cutting it out and then damaging our plaster and our finish areas. So we're trying to prepare for the future in that way. And this is what it's looking like. I'm so excited to see this in scale. Let me back up a little bit so you can see the scale a little bit more about what is going on. So our next step is going to be obviously fixing that door frame area, and then we have to bag here and here to start locking this frame in so that it doesn't wiggle and wobble around, and we don't have to mess with it while we're putting on all the other frames. So you're going to see us doing that in just a moment. All right, sometimes it starts raining and you still have work to do, so that's what happened today. Rain jackets are handy for that reason. So we are going to go ahead and call it quits for today. We'll be back in just a few seconds for you guys to do the next step. We got bags on both sides of the door frame. It is held up with its little kind of A-frame stilts on both sides. It can easily move. We can easily readjust it tomorrow, but we have our bags in place. Next step for us will be cleats. If you're new to the channel, I'll be explaining that shortly, but our cleats are going to go at this level here, and I will explain more about that in a few. Right, brand new day here. Beautiful, beautiful, bright blue morning for us. So yesterday we got nearly an inch of rain, which is wonderful for this time of year. So we will take it, but sure is nice to be working in the warm sun and getting all of our batteries charged back up. So I wanted to show you, this is the cleat you just saw me making in fast motion. We use scrap lumber for this. You can see this vertical piece is actually from when we built this frame a few minutes ago. And this, I have no idea where it's from. We've had it for a while. We have a whole bin full of old scrap lumber saved up specifically for this purpose. I have spikes or screws facing up, and then I have screws going down into this bag. Our next bag will come over top of this, and this will secure it and hold it in place right there. As we go up the frame, every few layers, we will do more cleats. So there will be tie-ins all the way up to the top of both sides of every single door frame. And in that way, it'll become more and more secure over time as we continue to build layer on layer. We also attached this from the inside. You can see here our screws going in to this vertical part here. A lot of times on these kinds of builds, people will attach them from this side, and then there's no outward facing screws or hardware to see, which is visually nice. However, what happens with that is if it's 20 years down the road, even if this isn't replaced when we finish the house, if we wanted to replace this even 20 years from now, we would have a very hard time removing this timber without damaging our infrastructure, our walls and everything around there. So we want to make it easy for ourselves, because as you know, anything can happen. We might want to replace this for any reason down the line, and we want to make it a simple process and a clean process when the time comes, if the time comes. And so that's why we are going from the inside of the frame. Hope that makes sense. So that is our first door frame. I'm very excited about this. Seeing some vertical dimension on our house finally. We are going to work today on putting in our next frame, which is here, and then back there. We're not going to do that on camera though, because obviously this is what it looks like. It's a lot of the same. In fact, we're at a stage in our builds, both here at the house and down at the greenhouse, where we're doing a lot of the same. We're filling up red sausage dirt bags here. We're building frames, and then we're filling up more bags. So we're not going to video every single bit of that. We've decided that for the new year, Happy New Year, by the way, we are going to change our schedule up just a little bit. And instead of every single Sunday, we're going to start posting videos every other Sunday. So you have this video today. Hope you enjoyed the update as much as we enjoyed sharing it. And then we will hopefully see you back here in 2 weeks for our next update. So 2 weeks from today, we'll have our next update, and hopefully you'll get to see even more tallness on our walls. I'm very excited to share that with you. Thank you so much for joining us here at Wiki Up Knoll Off Grid, and I do hope you plan to come back and see what's next in 2 weeks. Happy New Year.